Imagine if I told you that the secret to understanding your soul's journey through time is hidden in plain sight. In the very year you were born, that single digit at the end of your birth year, it's not just a number. It's a cosmic fingerprint left by your past life, carrying the essence of who you once were and why you're here now. Today, we're diving deep into ancient Buddhist teachings and numerological wisdom that has guided souls for thousands of years. By the end of this journey, you'll discover not just who you are, but who you've always been. Picture this. A young monk in ancient Tibet sits before his master, troubled by recurring dreams of another life. His master smiles knowingly and asks just one question. "What year were you born, child?" When the student answers, the master looks at the final digit and nods. "Ah, now I understand your dreams. Your soul remembers." This isn't just folklore. Buddhist numerology teaches us that the universe operates on precise mathematical principles. Every soul chooses its birth year deliberately, embedding clues about its past incarnation in that final digit. It's like a spiritual GPS, showing where you've been and guiding where you're going. So let me ask you, are you ready to unlock the mystery of your soul's history? Here's what I want you to do right now. Think of your birth year. Got it? Now look at that last digit, whether it's 0, 1, 2, all the way to 9. That number is about to tell you a story that's been waiting lifetimes to be heard. Each digit represents a different soul archetype, a different past life experience that shaped who you are today. Let's journey through each one. If your birth year ends in 0, you were once a guardian of ancient wisdom. Picture yourself as a temple keeper in a forgotten civilization, entrusted with protecting sacred knowledge. You stood at the gates between worlds, ensuring that only the worthy could pass. In that lifetime, you learned the power of responsibility and the weight of trust. That's why, in this life, people naturally turn to you in times of crisis. You're the rock everyone leans on, the steady presence when the world feels chaotic. Your soul remembers what it means to be the foundation others build upon. Notice how you're naturally practical? How you prefer planning over spontaneity? That's your guardian soul at work. Always preparing, always protecting. Ending in 1? Your soul once blazed trails across uncharted territories. You were the fearless explorer who climbed mountains others deemed impossible, the leader who rallied tribes to build new civilizations. In that past life, you tasted the intoxicating freedom of being first. First to see a new sunrise from an undiscovered peak. First to unite warring clans under a common vision. You learned that leadership isn't about power. It's about having the courage to step into the unknown while others hesitate. That's why you can't help but take charge today. When others see obstacles, you see opportunities. When they say impossible, something in your soul whispers, "Watch me." You're not just ambitious, you're remembering what it felt like to shape the world with your bare hands. Born in a year, ending in 2? Close your eyes and feel this. You once walked between enemy camps under a banner of truce, your very presence calming hearts hardened by war. You were the diplomat who turned battlefield enemies into lifelong allies. In that incarnation, you discovered that the greatest strength isn't in conquest, but in connection. You learned to read the unspoken language of hearts, to find common ground where others saw only division. Today, you're the friend everyone calls when they need to vent, the colleague who somehow gets rival departments to work together. You don't just avoid conflict, you transform it into understanding. Your soul remembers that peace isn't the absence of war, it's the presence of harmony. If your number is 3, you once stood before kings and commoners alike, your voice weaving stories that made grown warriors weep and children dream of impossible worlds. You were the sacred artist, the keeper of beauty in a harsh world. In that lifetime, you learned that creativity isn't just self-expression, it's soul expression. Your art didn't just entertain, it healed, it inspired, it connected people to something greater than themselves. That's why you can't help but see beauty where others see ordinary, why you feel physically uncomfortable in environments lacking creativity or color. Your soul is still painting the world more beautiful, one creation at a time. Born in four? You once stood before nothing but empty land and raw materials, yet in your mind's eye, you saw magnificent temples that would stand for millennia. You were the architect of eternity, the builder whose work outlived empires. In that past life, you learned that true success isn't measured in speed, but in permanence. You discovered the meditation of methodical work, the satisfaction of creating something that would benefit generations you'd never meet. Today, you're the one others call to organize the impossible project, to create systems that actually work. You don't just build structures, you build legacies. Your soul remembers that anything worth doing is worth doing right. Ending in five? Your soul once knew no boundaries. You were the wanderer who traded stories for meals, who learned languages from lovers in distant ports, who found family in every corner of the world. In that incarnation, you discovered that freedom isn't about having no commitments. It's about choosing your commitments consciously. You learned that the world is vast and varied, and that staying in one place too long meant missing the feast of experience life offers. That's why routine feels like a prison to you, why you need variety like others need air. You're not flaky or uncommitted. You're remembering a soul that thrived on diversity and change. Born in 67, your past life was spent as the heart of a community, the healer who mended not just bodies, but souls, the mother or father figure who made everyone feel like family. In that lifetime, you learned that love multiplied when shared, that taking care of others wasn't a burden, but a privilege. You discovered that true wealth isn't what you accumulate, but what you give away. Today, you're the one who remembers everyone's birthday, who can't rest when someone you care about is hurting. You don't just love, you love with the wisdom of someone who knows how precious and fragile life truly is. Number 7, you were once the sacred seeker, the hermit who climbed the highest mountains, not for conquest, but for clarity. Picture yourself sitting in meditation for days, weeks, months at a time, peeling back the layers of reality to glimpse the cosmic truth beneath. You were the oracle that kings and peasants alike sought out in their darkest hours, not because you had easy answers, but because you had the courage to ask the deeper questions. In that lifetime, you spent countless hours in sacred libraries, deciphering ancient texts that others found too complex or frightening to understand. You learned that wisdom isn't found in the noise of the world, but in the profound silence between thoughts. You discovered that every question contains its own answer, if you're willing to sit with it long enough. Your past life was about understanding that truth isn't something you possess, it's something you become. That's why solitude doesn't scare you. It restores you. Why you're naturally drawn to mysteries others dismiss as impossible to solve. Why you can sense things others can't. Your soul remembers what it's like to see beyond the veil. You're not antisocial. You're remembering a time when connecting with the infinite was more important than connecting with the finite. Ending in 8, your soul once wielded great power, not just over others, but over the forces that shape civilizations. You were the architect of empires, the merchant whose trade routes connected distant worlds, the ruler whose decisions affected millions. But here's what made your past life profound. You learned that true power isn't about domination, it's about responsibility. You once stood on a balcony overlooking a kingdom you had built and felt the weight of every soul depending on your wisdom. You discovered that the higher you climb, the more clearly you must see. In that incarnation, you experienced both the intoxication of success and the burden of consequence. You learned that accumulating wealth and influence is easy compared to using them wisely. You discovered that every decision ripples through time, affecting people you'll never meet in ways you can't imagine. That's why you have such a complex relationship with success today, why you're naturally strategic, but also deeply ethical, why you can see the big picture when others get lost in details, but also why you sometimes carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Your soul remembers what it's like to hold the fate of others in your hands. Born in 19, you were once the teacher who appeared when the student was ready, the sage whose very presence sparked awakening in others. But you weren't always a teacher. You were once a student who had journeyed through every other number, every other lifetime, collecting wisdom like sacred treasures. Picture this. You were the elder who sat at the crossroads between villages, offering guidance to travelers not through preaching, but through perfect questions that helped them find their own answers. You were the grandmother whose stories contained entire philosophies, the master whose gentle correction could redirect a life. In that past life, you learned that the highest form of service isn't healing someone's pain. It's helping them discover their own strength to heal. You discovered that true teaching happens not when you give someone knowledge, but when you help them remember what they already know deep down. You experience the bittersweet joy of watching your students surpass you, and you learned that the greatest teachers are those who make themselves unnecessary. Your past life was about understanding that wisdom shared is wisdom multiplied, and that love given freely comes back transformed. That's why you can't help but see potential in everyone, even when they can't see it themselves. Why you find yourself naturally mentoring others, often without realizing it. Why you feel most fulfilled when you're helping someone else grow. You're not just wise, you're remembering lifetimes of learning how to love the world into its highest potential. Here's the profound truth that Buddhist teachings want us to understand. Your past life isn't really in the past. It's alive in you right now, in your instincts, your talents, your deepest fears and greatest joys. That last digit of your birth year is not predicting your future, it's explaining your present. Every time you feel drawn to something you can't explain, every time you have a skill that seems to come from nowhere, every time you feel like an old soul in a young body, that's your past life speaking. So here's my challenge to you. For the next week, pay attention to how your past life shows up in your daily choices. Notice when that ancient guardian, pioneer, healer, mystic, or teacher within you takes the lead. And remember, you chose this number, this lesson, this lifetime for a reason. Your soul knew exactly what it needed to learn and what gifts it came to share. If this resonated with you, share your birth year's last digit in the comments below. Let's create a community of awakened souls, each recognizing the ancient wisdom they carry. Until next time, keep exploring the beautiful mystery of who you truly are. Your past lives are proud of how far you've come.